We're gonna head out to the Shuswap River in the North Okanagan region, close to Lumbee and about 5 kilometers from Mable Lake. I'm gonna go. Okay, we're almost to the river. I just wanted to show you guys this grass growing in all this willow. Look how thick and tall it is. Some of this grass is probably close to 8 feet tall. Pretty amazing how natural and untouched this particular area is. And we're just gonna sneak through here, these willows. Oh, you can see there's been a white-tailed buck scraping on this willow bush. Yeah, they do that for their breeding season. They scrape their antlers onto brushes. Well, here's the river. Old Shuswap River. At least a section of it anyway. I think this is just one channel of it. And here we are. We ended up right near a log jam. We're gonna just... Yeah, there's a big log jam right here. Pretty deep right here on this bench. Water's probably 8-9 feet deep. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful section of the Shuswap River, just outside of Lumbee, close to Mable Lake. Okay, well, we're just gonna find a better place to mosey on through here. We'll go check out this other spot here. Those beautiful gray cottonwoods over on the island over there. The contrast between those and the evergreens, just amazing. So beautiful. Such a peaceful place to be. Just to soak in all the beauty there is. Pretty untouched. You can see there's a cut block up in the top left corner there. They did that this year recently. They've come and started to log this hillside. But pretty beautiful. Count my lucky stars to live in such a place. Well, we're gonna head over to the little island over here. Okay. Made it into this little forest spot. I'm going to go through here, and there's likely going to be some things we can find to eat in here. Let's keep our eye open. So far we're not seeing a whole lot besides some old burdock. Some wood violets. You can eat those leaves if you find them in decent condition this time of year. But you can see all this taller dead plant stalks here. Yeah, so those Those are old stinging nettle stalks. So it's a good thing to look for if you're just looking for new areas to forage and collect wild food this time of year. Obviously seeing these long dead sticks here is a sure sign of you have a good stinging nettle patch beneath your feet that will sprout up in the spring. So come back in the spring and collect yourself some really nutritious medicinal food that you can get for free. Just a little walk in the woods, and here's a bunch more of those stinging nettle stalks there. You can see them. And so yeah, you know, there's lots of stinging nettle growing in this place here. So yeah, you come back in the spring and harvest your stinging nettle. And there's some deer poo there, probably whitetail. Mule deer don't come down into the valley bottom. Typically they stay on the benches. They come out of the high country and winter on the bench usually, which is about mid-elevation, and you know, you can call them little foothills. But yeah, usually whitetail down here and mule deer up top. You do get whitetail up there too, but they're not as many. Well, we're gonna walk over into here. Oh, look at this. So here's another thing you can eat. You can see this old thistle. So if this stalk right here, pick a piece off of it there. Here. So I just broke a piece off. Now if you take this stalk right here, and you just kind of take, you know, break it apart and wash off anything, you know, might be on it. But you go ahead and just eat that. I'm going to take a bite of it here. Yeah, that's good. It tastes like celery. And if you take all the prickles off of it first, obviously, yeah, that is some really good food. Every time I eat it, I just love it. It's one of my favorite snacks this time of year. It's sweet. It tastes a lot like celery. You can use it like you would celery. And you can just eat it raw and cook with it. But like I said, you're going to want to make sure you take all those prickles off of it before you get on it and start chowing on it. But yeah, it's a delicious snack and food source that you can get this time of the year. And that's a thistle. Yeah, and you can also dig the root up and eat the root, which is also highly nutritious and medicinal. I advise if you do dig up the root, you try not to disturb the ground too much, as well as leaving a few larger pieces of the root in the ground, because it will likely grow into another plant. Therefore, you don't kill the whole plant by taking the whole root system. That way you can come back the following year or in a couple of years in that area and gather more food from it. That makes it a little more sustainable and less damaging on the environment. But anyway, here we are at Shuswap River, not far from Mable Lake. So this is just a little piece of it, a little channel, as you would say, comes off the main river, which looks like it joins together with it right over there. We'll go take a look, check it out. Well, making my way over to the junction of the side channel and the main river, I came across this awesome plant here. Oregon grape. So this looks like holly to some people in the eastern parts of the continent, but here we call it Oregon grape, and it grows a little different. Doesn't grow as tall like a tree. You could eat those little buds right there. You can eat them raw or cooked. It produces blue berries during the summer. It's prickly leaves, so be careful when you're working on it. And then down in the ground is where the good stuff is, the roots. It's got a chemical in it that's really good for treating some nasty health conditions. So you're probably good on eating on that, using it as a tea, cooking with it. The color on it's like a turmeric, so it's really yellow or orange. There's some buck tracks, probably whitetail again. Then you can also collect the berries during the summer and make jams, jellies, syrups, baked pastry dishes, all these type of things. Super good for you. High in antioxidants, vitamins and minerals. So here's another one of those prickly thistles. It's going to grow into a big plant like its grandfather we just seen there. There's another one. So you can see there's food all over. Remember, you can eat the roots on those. So if you come across a big patch of them, you don't be afraid to harvest a few. They spread like wildfire. You can see the animals, cows, mostly have done a number on this bank. This is a flood waterway, so this floods right out, fills right full of water during the runoff season, early spring. The cows come through here regularly, disturb quite a bit of the environment, but this is private land, unfortunately. I do have permission to be on it. Been coming out here for 30 years now. You can see it's pretty barren in the open parts. Very little vegetation growing. Likely due to the grazing activity of the cows. So you can see the devastation they can have if you have too many or leave them too long in certain areas. But here, check this out. This looks pretty cool. So we're still working our way over to that junction of the waterway. They're offshoot in the main channel there. But you want to see something cool, look at this old root system here. Isn't that neat? It looks like Medusa's head and all the snakes on it. Yeah, so you can see all the log jam. Yeah. You can see all the logs down in there that have been pushed around throughout the years of high and low water. You often see otters and beavers in there. Let's see if we can find some today. But it's going to get a little bushy here, so I'm going to shut off the video and we'll pick it up once we get over to the other spot there. Well, I just came across some witch's butter. This particular little bit isn't looking too healthy, but you're probably likely going to find more of that, and you can use that in a tea, even add it to your soup. Highly medicinal. Scientific evidence, some studies, some universities around the world have shown that there's a chemical in there that supposedly helps fight some types of cancers. Good to know. So yeah, since we got you back on the video here, we might as well check out this log jam. You can see how large it actually is. Now kids watching this, if you are, this is not a place to play. You get crawling around out in that and you fall into that water, you get likely going to get stuck. Now right now it's not too bad due to the low water, but definitely at high water you don't want to be playing on that log jam, especially if you're just a youngster just beginning your adventures in nature. Here, look at the beavers here. Yeah, the beavers have been right on these ones, eating these up real good. On that, they took that right out like that. These ones, you can see they just left the trees down. They didn't haul them off and use them in their dam or anything. Probably needing to keep their teeth sharp. A beaver has to keep chewing on something like a rabbit. Beaver and rabbits both have these teeth that just don't stop growing. If they don't chew something, they can cause serious health conditions for them if they don't wear those teeth down as they grow. So they're constantly chewing on something. Rabbits, same way. So you can see how big of a tree they'll try to attack here. This is a fair size cottonwood tree, and done a few chips down there, eating on that tree real good. Looks like he might have gave up on it, I'm not sure. Maybe they're taking time to go through it all, or tag teaming it. Maybe there's a few of them working on it. But if you're out here and you sit long enough, you can actually hear them fall those big trees every now and then. You'll hear them crash in the woods. And, the first time you hear it, you might not know what it is. But it is a big tree falling, and they make a racket, I tell you that. You hear it for miles away, them big trees falling like that when it's quiet outside. And yeah, we have, there's no development out here where I live. There's, every house is about 1 kilometer or 2 away from each other, if not farther. And there's only a handful of us out in the valley here. Most young families moved on and can't seem to make a living that they want here. So they move on, find a life somewhere else, which keeps it pretty quiet out here. I mean, I've been coming out here 30 plus years now, and yet I've counted on less than one hand how many times I ran into somebody out here, and typically it's only been the owner of the land, and not even a regular person just out exploring or venturing or anything. So here's some more food here. Some people call this witch's hair, oak moss, lichen. There's all sorts of names. Old man's beard. That can be boiled up several times. Note, you're going to want to boil it up several times before you go ahead and try to eat on that. It's going to be a bitter one, which is going to be good for your stomach bile, your microorganisms in your gut. You're going to feed on that and be happy. But like I said, you're going to want to boil it a couple, maybe even 2-3 times. Exchange the water throughout the process before you try munching on that one. You can find a lot of that now. Here's another food source this time of year. Now, it's not as good this time of year as they are in the spring when they're producing fresh green tips that you can just eat nicely right off the tree. But that's a spruce tree, and everybody knows the spruce tips. I'm sure most people watching this video know anyway. If not, the spruce tip is the part that grows in the early spring, and it's very tender, tasty, and nutritious. You can eat them raw, you can add them to soups, to teas, infusions. Some people even make tinctures with them. They're good. Got vitamin C in them, and a couple other micronutrients. Not a source of protein or carbohydrates. But that lichen I showed you, here's the river now. You can see it. This is where it joins. You can kind of see where the two rivers join there. Same river, just a branch of it rejoining up with the main river here. But yeah, back to that lichen on that tree, the oak lichen or witch's hair or old man's beard, whatever you want to call it. There's several different types. All of them are edible and medicinal. Very high in carbohydrates. Good to know. Carbohydrates are essential during the cold weather, so know that. Best way to eat it, boil it a few times, add it to berries, maybe even some animal fat, anything really that you can help wash it down. It's pretty fibrous, not very tender at all. It is typically hard to digest if you're not used to eating these type of foods, so go mild on it in the beginning and just try a little bit and see how you interact with it, and slowly consume more to get the health benefits and nutrition out of it. But because it is hard to digest, you're going to want to add it to other foods if you can. You can't just eat it all by itself, but you're not going to want to eat just solely the lichen. You're going to want to mix up your food just like anything, right? You don't want to eat something, same thing, for too long. It's like eating a bag of cherries, maybe 2 bags of cherries. You know, you're going to start getting tummy ache, and it's going to try telling you, you know, you overdone it. You eat way too many, and you better slow down. So same thing with this food, right? Same thing. You're not going to want to eat a whole bag of it. So it's a good source of carbohydrates for the winter time. All right, you could add it to rose hips and that thistle and all these things I've been showing you, the catkins. You can literally add that all together, boil it up and mash it up and eat it like that. Right? If you got homemade vinegar, apple cider vinegar, you add some of that on there. That can be good. Some butter, homemade butter. You know, yeah, this is all good stuff for you. So you eat on that, and you won't starve out in the cold in the winter time. You know, I always said there, without knowledge, you'd be walking around starving to death, and you'd be walking right over all your food. So you can see right here, here's some more of the Oregon grape. And not only that, these canes right here, these reddish canes, there's a few of them here. These plants right there. Yeah, you know what that is? That's raspberry. Yeah. So you come back in the fall when those raspberries are ready, and you know, you go ahead and munch on them. All right, more free food. They're just out walking around. But here's the old duck pond, we call it. We used to hunt the ducks here when we were kids. I'm not a huge bird hunter these days. When we were kids, we did have spaniels. My old man still has a spaniel or two. Uses them to hunt birds. Yeah, but like I said, I'm not a huge bird hunter anymore. I don't eat a lot of bird. There's some, I don't know if you can hear them, but those are mallard ducks. So there's a food source right there. Now, if you're not an Indian, then you're not allowed to shoot those unless it's hunting season. So make sure you follow your local regulations and stuff when you're doing these type of things as well, right? Make sure you got permission to go on the land if it's private. Make sure it's hunting season if you got to obey the laws and regulations in your area. But yeah, besides all those obvious points, you can find food all around, especially in a place like this. And if you're in a city, it'll be a little more difficult to the ducks are up there flying. Let's see if I can zoom in on them. Yeah, there they are, 4 of them. But if you live in the city, you may have to go farther out to find the wild food. And definitely don't be trying to eat the wild food growing right in the city or near it, as it's likely going to be full of toxins and chemicals from petroleum products and all these other things. Pollutants. So yeah, best to get out in the woods as far as you can before you start munching on wild food. One thing about wild food, it has a tendency to gather up all the minerals and nutrients in the soils. So that's why one reason why they're super healthy for you, because they're typically 10 times more nutritious than any food you're going to get in the store. Yeah, the weeds. But yeah, they have a tendency to pull out all those good nutrients. So if the area it's growing in is toxic, well, you can imagine what it's doing, right? It's going to pull out all those toxins out of the ground and into the plant material. And if you're unaware of that, you go and eat on that, you may get yourself sicker than what you think you're doing. You think you're eating some healthy wild food, and you're actually poisoning yourself because it's full of toxins. I'm not trying to scare you away from eating wild foods, besides the fact that your food in the grocery store is probably worse anyway. So here's the little duck pond we used to hunt. So conclusion, just pay attention where you're picking your wild food from. Make sure it's in a good clean area, and yeah, you'll be fine. I mean, if you're eating food from the grocery store, then you're already I don't know what to say about that. You shouldn't be eating that food. Unfortunately, most of it's got so many chemicals on it, and you don't even know, and you can't even wash them off anymore. So, and then they try selling you more chemicals to wash the chemical off the chemical. It's like, I don't know, it makes no sense anymore. So I advise you just everybody start learning these wild foods. And yeah, you may not only have to eat the wild food and not like it, and it's not this or that, but guess what? It's going to be healthy for you. It's going to keep you healthy. It's going to get rid of all those diseases and sicknesses, and it's free and sustainable, and you're not ripping mountains down to build trucks and mining material just to get an orange in your grocery store. That's less nutritious than the rose hip growing in your backyard. So you start asking yourself, what are you really doing going to the grocery store buying stuff? Right? This day and age, we have the knowledge and the information capability of making better decisions and choices every day. So, and look at all this area here. So down by the water, you could literally plant a few things without disturbing the area too much, if at all, and just find good locations where you could plant a plant, and you come back and harvest it throughout the year. If it's a perennial and it comes back every year, you can utilize it year after year. If it's an annual and you keep reseeding it, well, there again, you'll have added food source. So whether it's kale, all these other broccoli plants and stuff that like the cold. You could grow cabbages, and believe it or not, that kale and even some of the cabbage will still be good this time of year if you just left it and the animals didn't eat on it. So these are things people could do, right? You don't need to cut all the trees down and build a field and grow all just one cabbage and then rip them out and down and build a tractor to farm the darn thing, because you don't have enough family relatives who want to do the work no more. So you build a machine to do it for you, but look at all the destruction it causes, and then the monopoly it ends up bringing, where only a few people have, where everybody has nothing. Every small percentage has everything they want. That's what that does over time. So not a good choice. Now look at this thicket right there. Look how thick that is. That's several plants growing all together, I bet. Let's go check it out. Now look at this. This thing is so thick you can't even walk in there. Oh, you know what it is? It's a hawthorn. And it's got full of lichen, so tons of food source. But yeah, this, you can see this is so, you not get in there if you wanted to. One, these hawthorns have these thorns on them that are nasty if you get hit and pricked by one of them on you. You can see the buds are forming. But yeah, this looks like, and it also has rose bush growing in there. So that's a rose bush and hawthorn bush. That's crazy. Imagine this whole area probably looked like that. You probably couldn't even walk through here before the farmers came and cut it all out. And you can see they pile it up here and burn it. This big old pile of stuff they've piled up and burnt. There's another pile over here we'll check out. Yeah. We'll go quickly check out this pile over here. All these old cottonwood trees, you can see them. It's good to see they're still standing. But yeah, here at this other burn pile that they had here, actually looks like there's a rosehip plant. Maybe even with some rose hips left on it. Yeah. Sure is. You can see still rose hips left on there. Yeah, some of them are no good, the black ones, and then the red ones. The red ones are good. But yeah, there's food everywhere.